Welcome to the Write Your Own Story podcast. I'm your host, Betsy Leonidas, and the founder of the Write Your Own Story company. Girl, I can tell you right now, you are definitely enough. Here we value service, sisterhood, connection, laughter, and that super genuine, keep it real, tell you like it is honesty. My hope is at the end of each episode, you realize you can do whatever it is you dream about and that you are not alone with what you struggle with. I'm hoping that you are snapping and clapping and hell yes in your way through each one of these episodes. So if this tracks with you, let's get started. I'm so glad you're here. All right, everyone. Welcome back to the latest episode of the Write Your Own Story podcast. I'm your host, Betsy Leonidas, and I am so thrilled to be here today with Liz Michaels. Liz,
hello.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So Liz, I love your energy. Liz reached out to me in my DMs on Instagram and said that she is an autistic woman who has been told at a young age that, she might not have a professional career, was kind of given sort of certain parameters for how she was going to live her life, and is absolutely doing the opposite and defying all the odds and writing your own story, and that you came on and wanted to be a voice for all of those within the autistic community. And I said a resounding hell yes, let's do this. So I'm so grateful. And I'm really just so impressed with your everything, honestly. And I can't wait to just dive right in. But before we get started, I like to start every episode with just really setting the intention so that listeners know kind of like what we're intending to do. And then for those of us holding the conversation, that keep us accountable. Except I couldn't pick one intention. So I picked three. It's my show.
Yeah.
So I have that I really want to inspire people to defy the odds, and really I love that your story is about believing in yourself despite what society has told you. I think that that's so inspirational. It applies to so many people, well beyond those who are autistic, but absolutely for any of those who have autistic people that they love in their life. And then I love the idea of looking at the world differently because you have autism. I have a dyslexic daughter, so that really reminds me, I think it's her superpower. She looks at the world so differently, and it adds so much value. And I think she's just amazing. So I'm so excited to talk about this from an autistic lens, and absolutely to give you the platform to be a voice for the autistic community. So I am just thrilled that we're doing this.
Yes, me too.
Awesome. Okay. So did I get that right that you were diagnosed at 3?
Yes, I was diagnosed at 3. So back in, I want to say between 1990 and 91. So let's go back a little bit. At the age,
Sure.
2.5, my mom, who is she's now retired, but she was a 30-year school art teacher. She started noticing that I was kind of going backwards. So I was hitting all the milestones, and then all of a sudden and this is one of the downfalls to autism. It's almost like it goes to all the progress you start making, and then for some, it just goes to a screeching halt. The talking stops, sometimes for others, it's eye contact. There's things that pop out. And for me, it was, I immediately stopped talking and my mom was just noticing I wasn't hitting milestones and that such. So they took me to, the pediatrician, and unfortunately, the pediatrician sat down, and I guess back then they kind of were looking at it like she's going to be kind of a vegetable.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. So, and I think back then autism was just looked at as institutionalized, or they didn't say it to my parents, but I kind of, as I've taken classes as an adult and done research, a lot of the time it's back then, or when they didn't know something very well, it was just oh, just get rid of her, rid of it. Take it out the trash. So the doctor was just she's not going to make anything of herself. She's not going to be able to graduate high school. Just get ready, to, like I said, be a vegetable, living at home all the time, living at home, not being able to do things. And that they pretty much as I look at it, is this doctor pretty much wrote me off. Was she's just gonna not do anything with her. She's just gonna sit there.
My gosh. Have you ever talked to your mom about what her reaction was to that?
When the doctor left the room, she literally collapsed on the ground and was hysterical. And my dad, so when the doctor came back in, my dad was you need to listen here. She's gonna be just fine. And she's not a vegetable, he said, I am not babying her. And they just were saying take her to this person and that person and this, and how overwhelming right?
Yes, truly. As a parent, I can only
Yes,
imagine.
yes. So my mom was like really, really upset. And my dad was like, she's going to be fine. I'm not baby. Like, I'm treating her just like everybody else. She's going to be fine. She's going to go to school. And, that was that. And for my dad, as along with working as a high end bartender
Mhm.
outside of DC, he also, after he retired from that, was a football coach for 15 years. So he had that mentality like, nope,
Nope.
get out there. Like,
Yeah.
nope, get
Tough
out there.
luck.
So, but yeah, so I was diagnosed in a time where like they didn't really know what it was. So they were just kind of like, yeah, you
And what
know.
year was that?
I think it was, so I was around 3 years old. So I want to say yeah, early 1991.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was just curious.
And so, I mean, I remember going to preschool, like they took me to preschool. And I mean, I did have my moments, but
Mhm.
what preschooler doesn't?
I still have my moments and I'm
Yeah.
43, so
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So what like, I would love to know more about, like, what, childhood, what did that feel like? What was school like? With it, even both the academic side and the social side of things, like, how did
Mhm.
that feel?
So, with school I want to say, so elementary school I didn't really notice it, but
Mhm.
middle school is when God, I hated my teen. I'm not gonna lie. I know
That's
everyone's
fair.
like, "Oh, being a teenager is fun." No, for some, when you're on the spectrum, unfortunately it's not fun,
Okay.
because you're awkward, you got sensory issues, you got puberty coming into play.
Mm.
I mean, it to
Mhm.
me it's just an awkward stage. And
Yeah.
yes. And so for me, elementary school was pretty good, but then when I hit the middle school is when like kind of the bullying
Oh,
started. And yes, like girls,
middle school
but
girls are the
middle school,
meanest kind of people I've
yes,
ever seen.
yes, yes. Like when I watched the Mean Girls movie, I'm like, yes, this is
Mhm.
teenage life.
It
I
is.
mean, they are vicious. And they at the looking back at the time, I don't think what the people were saying to me realized how it impacts not just my life, but the people around me, when they have
Mm.
to hear me come home and say, "Oh, this person said this to me, and this
Yeah.
person said that to me," and that kind of thing. So, unfortunately, I was a target, and I've talked to several other autism community members, not member, but just within the community, say, "Oh, yes, we've dealt with the bullying." Like it's
Really?
yes, and teachers at the time, like I think when I was a teenager, again, autism's just it was just coming out. But
Mhm.
now in like 2024, like there's a ton of information, and
Mhm.
it's almost like we're like a protected class. Like if
Yeah. Yeah.
as I mean, any you shouldn't, like, I go by like what Morgan Freeman says, like, making fun of somebody with disabilities has got to be the lowest thing on the planet. Like you've got
$100%.
there's something very wrong with you. But
Innate, like, deeply, deeply troubled within you if
yes,
that's what you're
yes,
doing. Yeah.
yes. And also looking back, I know some classmates were having it really tough at home,
Mhm.
didn't have mom and dad. They either had just mom or dad, or
Mhm.
and
Right.
also going back to puberty, going through all that, and
Right.
not having the right guidance. And I lived in a small town, so you didn't really know what anyone was going through
Mhm.
until like there was like a story in the newspaper, or like
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
like, what I mean, small town
Totally.
talk.
Yeah. Yeah. I know
Yeah.
what you mean.
And I'll be honest with you, like looking back, like small town wasn't my thing. Like where I live now is my thing. Like
Yeah.
I do better in a more diverse community. And where I lived, unfortunately, there was very little diversity.
Yes.
So I think that's why I also stood out.
Yeah. Any
But
type of difference must just
yes.
stand right out. Yeah.
And the other thing is, as I got to high school, it did get a little better, but I was never that top friend people wanted to hang out with. Like, people thought I was very nice. I did win best personality in my graduating class, but unfortunately, I was never like that top friend, like, "Oh, let's call Liz and hang out." Like, I
Yeah.
always was just kind of pushed to the back. I had to make the effort to
Make the
ask.
effort. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I did there. I will say there were a couple people, and
Mhm.
they know who they are. Like that would reach out to me saying, "Hey, do you want to hang out?"
Awesome.
but it wasn't a whole lot, if that
Yeah,
makes sense.
it does make sense.
And but yeah, like I said, teenage life, like I'm not gonna lie, was very bumpy, and
Oh,
I would not want to go back.
I'm so sorry. Oh my
I,
gosh.
I think it's made me a lot stronger, and I think it's also made me realize why I wanted to be an advocate. Because and I have forgiven the people who did bully me, because I feel like if I'm not doing it for them, though, that's the thing, I'm doing it
Yes,
for me, so I
100%.
can move on. So I can move on. And unfortunately, in my adult life, I you would think, you know, not
You would
not
think.
you wouldn't have to deal with, bullying, but unfortunately, I have dealt with it from time to time.
Yeah.
But again, it reminds me, this is why you advocate, this is why you speak up, and so yeah, teenage years definitely taught me a lot. And like with the academic, it was up and down, like
Yeah.
it like, I would be doing good, and then a lot of it was comprehending the work. Like I really needed a teacher to like
Yeah.
really help me.
Hmm.
And luckily I got that, and it clicked. It took me a little time for things to click, if
Yes.
that makes sense.
It does. So when I think about my daughter who's dyslexic, who, as I can tell with you, you are so bright and so smart, as is Adeline, but she processes things differently. And
Yes,
so
yes,
once she figured out how she learned and comprehended, now it's like it's unlocked.
yes,
And
yes,
yes, does it take her? Is school harder for her? Always will be. Do I
yes.
worry about her in the future? Absolutely not. And so I'm just curious if it's similar, that you were like, I have to kind of learn how I learn, and then I have my own tool set to be
Yes.
able to do it.
So,
Okay.
so, and unfortunately, like with today's society, like I've talked to parents who, have children with disabilities or different learning styles.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you have these jam-packed classrooms now with
Hmm.
40 kids. How on earth is a teacher, like when I
I
went
know.
to school, let me tell you, when I went to school in the golden years, the
Yeah.
90s and the early 2000s,
Hmm.
and in my class, like, well, first off, I found out in certain states you have to apply for an IEP. I'm sorry, I didn't know we were applying for a job now.
I
Like,
know. I
you know,
know. You have to
for
like,
for me, as
hmm
soon as elementary school, they were like, "Okay, she has autism.
hmm
Let's get a plan for her."
yeah.
Same with college. They came up now. But now when I talk to people, they're like, "Oh yeah, I have to fill out this form." Like my mom did
Uh-huh.
not have to do that at all,
Oh, ho,
and I
ho.
find that absolutely ridiculous. It's just like they're not applying for a disability. Like it's just they need services.
They
Like
need services.
yes,
Absolutely.
like
I
there's nothing.
100%.
It's nothing wrong with extra help.
Hey, busy moms and aspiring entrepreneurs. If you want to learn how to build a high income business in just 20 hours a week so you can enjoy more time with your kids, all while transforming yourself from overwhelmed to confident in just 90 days, then you need to check out my masterclass. I'm Betsy, a busy mom of four and a business coach obsessed with helping women just like you build thriving businesses that fit your life, not the other way around. After 20 years in marketing and building my own nonprofit and e-commerce business, I know exactly what it takes to go from overwhelmed to empowered. That's why I created my self-paced digital masterclass designed to help you move forward with clarity and confidence. So whether you're starting from scratch or recalibrating an existing business, my masterclass will take you from stuck and overwhelmed to simplified, organized, confident, and clear in your next steps. If you want to learn things like how to create a successful business that aligns with your personal life and brings you happiness, if you want to learn how to acquire the confidence and strategies needed to overcome self-doubt and thrive in your entrepreneurial journey, if you want to obtain the knowledge and tools to take control of your business finances with confidence, if you want to gain essential skills and strategies to effectively promote your business with confidence and ease, and if you want to discover practical strategies and systems to manage the challenges of entrepreneurship, then you should absolutely check out the 5-section self-paced digital masterclass from the Female Founders Academy. It's just $597, plus every course comes with free worksheets to guide you through. Learn on your own time, at your own pace, in the privacy of your home. So if you want to learn how to build a high-income business in just 20 hours a week so you can enjoy more time with your kids, all while transforming yourself from overwhelmed to confident in just 90 days, then visit writeyourownstory.co/FFA-courses or click the link in the show notes below.
when I went to school again, there was about like 18, 19, 20, 25 max. I mean, that's not terrible, but we always had another teacher in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And, and with my group, like we would be taken
Pulled
to
out.
another room. But
Uh-huh.
looking at when I was a teenager, I was just like, oh, great, I'm like a loser. Like,
Oh,
yeah, that's how I kind of felt, because
yeah.
people would stare and be like, oh, she's going to the special ed, like special ed.
Mm-hmm.
But looking back, I'm like, nope, I'm glad I got the extra help, because now I can understand books.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Um,
I do agree with you that like getting a kid on an IEP now, it requires
yes,
so much testing and then it
yes,
requires so much paperwork and so many meetings. But
yes.
what I've found with my daughter is that because she's been on IEP since third grade and she's been
Hmm.
pulled out for intervention, even all my like 3 out of 4 of my kids get pulled out for intervention for one way or
Right.
another. So what helps a little bit is that they're normalizing kids getting pulled out
Yeah.
all the time. But I
Yes.
can
Yes.
imagine in the 90s and the 2000s, it's like, oh, there she goes. See ya.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was so I'm thinking about, and you tell me if you want to answer this question or not. I'm just a
Oh,
curious
I'm
cat.
an open book. I'll
Okay.
answer anything.
And I bleed empathy. And I'm just
Yeah.
thinking about for the moms who I know who have kids who are autistic that are getting ready to go into the school system or like
Mhm.
preschool, kindergarten, et cetera.
Right.
So you had mentioned that when you were 2.5, 3, that your verbal skills just like all of a sudden started backsliding. Like
Hmm.
how did autism present for you in school? Where like did you have hard time communicating or did you have a hard time like what does that look like?
So when I first got diagnosed, communicating was very hard.
Okay.
I actually, my mom tells the story. It's kind of funny. My my mom, they would try to get me to talk, or like,
Mhm.
so I turned and the kids next to me were deaf. So I did what they did. And my mom was like, nice try, Liz, but that's not happening.
You're like, what? What,
Yeah,
mom?
I know. I
That's
she said
hilarious.
that's the memory. She said the memory of preschool. I literally looked over at them and I went, "Oh, I'm going to do what they're doing."
Right.
Like,
I'll sign. Yeah.
yes, yes.
Oh, that's
But I
amazing.
think a lot of it. So eventually communicating did come back.
Okay.
Like, thankfully, my
Yeah,
mom said she's
clearly.
very, very thankful for that.
Yeah.
Because with, again, and my heart goes out to those with nonverbal children, because
Yeah.
it is difficult, and I know it's not always a superpower for everybody.
Yeah.
And I have empathy for all levels of autism, and that's why one of the reasons I came on the show too was
Yeah.
especially for those with nonverbal. I get it; it can be hard and challenging. But so my speech came back, but like writing was difficult.
Hmm.
Comprehending was difficult.
Yeah.
And like and when I say comprehending, I mean every subject. So a
Yeah.
teacher really had to break it down into little, like, almost like little chunks
Hmm.
of and I worked very closely with the school psychologist, and he told my mom he noticed, like, I would talk about one thing, then go to the next, and then the next,
Jump
So,
around.
yes.
Yeah.
And so at first they were like, well, maybe it's not autism, maybe it's ADHD.
Hmm.
So then the meds came in,
Oh
and
gosh.
yeah, it was. And then at one point when I got to middle school, they thought it was bipolar, because at the time, well, the psychologist at the time was like, heard the word bipolar, and at the time, again, early 2000s, that was the big diagnosis. And so
Mm.
she was like, oh, she's bipolar, and had me on all these meds. And
Oh
my
my gosh.
mom, well, oh yeah, my mom like took books out and just was like, this is not right. And
Yeah.
finally, and so, I mean, she truly believed I had autism. So she talked to a friend, and the friend was like, I go to this psychologist, you really need to go to him.
Yeah.
I mean, and I tell you, it was just like me and you chat, like no medical terms, no. He was like, how are you doing today? Like,
Yeah.
he's like, are you good? Like, and I said, I hate being a teenager. And he was
Yeah.
like, who doesn't? Like, it's
Fair.
not he's like, it's not a roller coaster ride, but it's not a fun ride to be on sometimes.
Yeah.
So our first, like, our the first session, which is the longest,
Hmm.
he sat there and observed me and just was talking about stuff, and he was like, "You're pretty calm for ADHD or ADD, ADHD." He was like, "You're sitting in that chair pretty well." And I said, "Yeah, I mean, I'm comfortable." And
Yeah,
so then as he continued to talk, like, he got into the layers of me, if that makes sense.
it does. It
Like,
makes absolute
and
sense.
finally, the next session he had with my parents, he was like, "She's not bipolar. She is not um ADD. She's not this, not that. She does have anxiety and,
Yeah.
a little bit of depression, but she has autism." And they had just switched. Well, back then they used to call it Asperger syndrome.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. So now, I guess most recently they've dropped the Asperger syndrome and just put everybody into on this. So I'm on
Spectrum.
the high functioning end of autism.
Got it. Okay,
Yes.
that paints such a picture. That is so
Yes.
helpful when I think
Yes.
about, I think about these parents who are in the sort of the discovery phase, like your mom and
Right.
dad were, and are just like
Yes.
grasping at straws, trying to be
Yes.
like, where are we? What does
Yes.
this mean? What's the future going to
Yes.
look like? That really helps paint a picture. That is really interesting. Do you have siblings?
I do. I have an older sister, and then
Okay,
I also have two brothers, and then along with them, I also have two amazing sister-in-laws,
cool.
and I don't know, get ready. I have 8 nieces and a nephew.
Oh, isn't it the best?
Yes, yes,
Oh,
yes. And the two nieces live right around the corner.
oh, that is
Uh,
so cool. I'm sure you spoil them
yes. I
rotten.
the 4-year-old, I tell her, I'm like, "I'm Aunt Liz." She goes, "You are not Aunt Liz. You are Lizzie." And
Oh,
I
that's
go, I'm like,
adorable.
"Okay."
Okay.
And sometimes I'll get on the phone. She'll be like, Liz Michaels," and I'm like, "That's me."
That's adorable. I can't.
Yes,
Kids are
yes,
the most hilarious. Like,
yes.
even now, like my youngest are 8, they're twins, and there's not many words left that they'll say, like biscotti, or like, there's not many of those left, but I refuse to correct them because I'm just like holding on
Yeah.
to those little goofy moments for as long as I can. What does one of them say? Fast backwards instead of rewind. And they're like, "Will you fast backwards that?" I'm like, "I sure will. I sure will. I'll never tell
My
you."
but no, my four the all of them have their personalities.
Hmm.
The one though that's recently coming out is the 1-year old, and I
Oh,
mean, she doesn't take anything. Oh, you take something away, my mom
forget
is
it.
like, "Why are you hitting me?" He's like, "Hey, lady, give it back."
That's mine. Oh
And
my God.
and if you put her in the high chair and she's done, oh, she's gonna let you know she's done. I'm like,
I,
"Geez,
I like this
y'all are
girl.
on a whole new level."
I know. Good luck, everybody. I'll return this
Yes,
child when I'm done hanging out with it.
yes,
That's the best part about being an aunt, isn't it?
yes,
So,
yes.
what was it like for, were your siblings close to you in school age? Could they support you in school when you were being bullied? Like, what
So
was, and did they have any impact of having an autistic sibling?
So my older sister, she when she found out I was getting picked on, she would let them have it.
Love that.
Sometimes not in the best way, but like,
I love that energy though.
I remember this one time in high school. This girl was really making fun of me because of my hand. I also have along with my autism, unfortunately, and I do want to say this,
Yeah.
unfortunately, with autism, you have other diagnoses that
Okay.
branch off, like
Okay.
anxiety,
Okay.
depression. Like, it's very common. So if you ever do meet a friend and they go, "I have, she has autism, anxiety," don't be surprised, because
Okay.
unfortunately, autism does a lot to the mind and the body. Like,
Interesting.
it's almost like we're not different people, but we look at the world differently and we feel the world differently. And it's just, some of us can be really, really sensitive, and
Yeah.
others can be really like, "Oh, I don't know." Like, what's scary about, like, not feeling pain is you could be having 104 fever, and some people with autism are like, "I just feel a little sweaty, no big deal." And they could be yeah. Where with me,
Interesting. I
where
didn't know that about autism.
Yes. So with me, I do not have a high pain tolerance. Like when I'm in pain, I'm literally on the ground like, "Oh my God, help me."
Mm.
And, not being too graphic, but like when I had my menstrual cycle, like it
Mhm.
was very intense. Like, and
Oh,
so and at first my mom didn't understand. She was like, "It's just a little cramp."
right,
But
right.
then the doctor was like, "Well, she does have autism, so this might be very intense for her." So
Mm.
she walked me through it, and they were able to help me, but like we
Yeah.
do feel pain, and and again, I'm going back to the branching off. So if you do hear somebody with autism, but you also see anxiety, depression,
Yeah.
it's not unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but it's not they are starting to see in studies, it's not surprising that
Okay.
and you would think autism is enough
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
handle.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, so for me, I have anxiety and a little bit of depression, but most of it is anxiety, but I learned to deal with it.
Yeah. Right.
And
Right.
but anyway, so back to my sister.
Yeah.
This was in high school. I had tried out for like the color guard team, and this girl just was bashing me. I mean, trying to destroy me. Yeah,
Give me
it
her
was.
name.
It
I'm just
was.
kidding. Don't. I'm just kidding.
Oh, oh,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm just mad.
She tried to destroy me left and right. So my
Mm.
sister comes down to the school. She is like, "Where is she?" Takes her by the
Uh-huh.
shoulders and slams her up against the locker and was like, and I quote, "Beep with my
Uh-huh.
sister,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to be sorry."
Oh.
I mean, I did not realize she was at the school. I guess I was at my locker and getting my stuff. I was a freshman,
Yeah.
or freshman or sophomore, one of the two.
Yeah.
It's been like years.
Yeah. All
So,
good. But I love her sister energy.
yes, I mean, we were very polar opposite, but I mean, she was the type that was like, no one's going, I'm the only one that messes with Liz,
Yeah.
not you.
Yeah.
So she got a phone, I guess she got a phone call from a friend and was like, "Listen, this is what's going on." She came down to that school, found her, and literally took her up against the locker. And I mean, they
Set her
said when
straight.
she she slammed her and was like, "Keep messing with her, and I'm coming back down, and it's not going to be pretty."
Yes.
I mean, yeah, and the girl did not pick on me anymore, but like, so that was that. And then I had two brothers who, I played. They were so what again, the small town thing
Yeah.
where I lived. It was sports, sports, sports,
Yep.
and I mean, I liked it, but at the same time, I was like, "There's more to life than sports." I mean,
Mhm.
I'm just gonna say it. Like,
It's so true.
yes, yes. So I think that's what also made me very awkward. Like, I wasn't into sports. I was more into theater, musicals, and that.
So
And
fun.
yeah, oh, the best. Like, sports, what's that? Like,
Yeah.
but I
Right.
did.
But like everyone's got their thing.
Yes, yes. And I think where I used to live, it should have been celebrated a lot more. Again, and that's where I love where I live, because there's performing arts centers, there's this, there's that. There
Hmm.
again, diversity. I mean, there
Yeah.
were performing arts centers where I used to live, but I feel like the sports really took over.
I get it.
Yes. So anyway, I with again, my brothers, they were huge football stars. I mean, in the newspaper, on the news, like.
Yeah.
But the nice thing about both of them that I learned is they never bragged. Like,
Oh, that's cool.
they were not into bragging. They were up for homecoming king, and this is so funny, they hated it. They were like, "I don't need this attention."
Yeah.
Like, and I would be excited for them, but they would look at me like, "No, like, I
Yeah.
hate this." And my one brother actually told all of his friends, "Do not vote for me for prom king. I am not going to the senior prom. I'm not going."
Oh,
Like,
he
and
did
he
not want
didn't.
the
And
attention.
they just, and some people are like that, and that's
Yeah.
okay. I mean,
Totally.
they just, and we talk about it now, and they just are like, we just were not into our work was the bragging. our
Yeah.
work was. And that's what my dad has taught all of us.
Yeah.
Like with
Proof
me
is in the
being
pudding, right?
with me being an autism advocate, them being, the football stars that they were, like he said, don't brag, because that just makes you look really, that makes you kind of look, ignorant. Just
Hmm.
let your work do the bragging.
Yeah.
And that's what we did, and that's what they did. I mean, and I would go and support them and be excited for them. And you know at the time, they didn't, like, I think they, like, my one brother was like, I know it's like a learning disability, but as we've gotten older, and
Yeah.
again, they were busy with their sports, so I would see them, we wouldn't see each other a whole, again, it's teenagers. And
Totally.
when you're Mr. Popular, like,
Yeah.
you're not home all the time. But I mean, we all got along. And but as we got older, they've gotten a better understanding of
Totally.
me, definitely. And
Yeah.
even my brothers all say, well, everyone's got their, little something, like
Hmm.
nobody's perfect. And so now that we're adults, like, we do have the discussion. And even like with my both sister-in-laws, like, they do ask questions like, oh, do you, how does this go with are you able to do this with because of your autism, like, how, do you get overwhelmed, that kind of thing. So they all know I'm open for questions, because that's what advocacy is. You want people to start asking questions.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it sounds like they really are curious because they care and they want to make
Yes,
sure that,
yes. I just think, again, when we were teenagers, autism just wasn't spoken about.
yeah.
It like learning disabilities were
Hmm.
spoken about, but
Yeah.
autism wasn't. And I still talk to my I still talk to my elementary school music teacher, who I just love.
Yeah.
And I also talk to my old guidance counselor from high school. They're both very dear to me.
Love that.
The music teacher, she got me really into music. And also, the guidance counselor, like, to this day, still gives me advice, like, remember what I used to always tell you, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, those two made a very big impact on my life. And I still go to them from time to time. And my music teacher actually was the one that said, back then, was like, we were learning about, like, autism was just she's the one who actually pointed it out. She said autism just was, like, on the surface, like,
Yeah.
it wasn't, like, rising like it is now, like.
And I think that's interesting when I think back to your doctor's appointment and the doctor
Mhm.
is like, I mean, you got to just like be prepared to institutionalize it.
Right,
That just like,
right,
it
right.
sounds like it comes from such a lack of knowledge and
Yes,
understanding.
yes,
And,
yes,
people are where they are. I remember my brother is
yes,
also dyslexic, and my brother is legitimately the smartest person I've ever met. And
yes.
it's the company that he runs is insanely successful. Like you would
Right,
just never know, but his
right.
kids have been able to outpace him reading wise since probably like middle school. But my
Hmm.
brother's, I mean, I can't even begin to explain to you how he was an engineer. Like he's so
Yeah.
smart, but he was born in 78. And so when he was diagnosed as dyslexic, I mean, literally they gave him
Yes.
glasses to start. And it's like,
Yes.
it's not his vision. Like that's just
Yes.
how little they knew about it.
Yes.
So anyway, just to kind of relate.
I told my music teacher, I was like, well, with her class, music was huge. And
Oh,
I
did it like
do.
unlock some things for
Yes.
you kind of?
So
Yeah.
I don't know what part of Ohio you're from, but I was
Cincinnati.
I was not an NSYNC girl. I was not a Backstreet. I was a 98 Degrees girl. I mean,
Got it.
my
Oh,
my
Drew Lachey and
yes,
Leah Lachey are friends.
my room was covered, and I actually got to meet them when I was 11.
Oh,
And
cool.
all the girls used to make fun of me, and I would look at them and go, I don't care.
Yeah,
Like,
don't care.
and I even would tell them, I would be like, they're hotter than your band.
I love it. I can't wait to tell Drew you said that.
Yes.
Is there anything better than when someone asks you where you got something and you're like, Amazon, can you believe it? It's like when someone says, oh, I love your dress, and you get to be like, it has pockets. I love Amazon because I can experiment with trends and activewear and fashion, beauty, and anything else I really want without having to break the bank. If you're like me and you get a little bit sad, okay, maybe more than a little bit sad when there's no package at the door, then you are my people. Also, I think we might need help. But until then, visit amazon.com/shop/write your own story co, or click the link in the show notes to shop all my faves in fashion, beauty, home decor, organization, and more. These are treasures you're not going to want to miss.
She got me into music, and this is so funny. So, you know how like elementary schoolers shouldn't be watching MTV?
Yeah,
Well,
Jesus.
I would hear about this MTV and I would go to, and that's how I found 98 Degrees. I would sneak and watch TRL, and my mom would be like, "You shouldn't be watching that." And I'd be like,
Mm-hmm.
and at that point, they started noticing. I would get up at 4 a.m. to watch these videos.
Oh my
Like,
God.
but
I love
that's
it.
how, but here's the thing. That's how my music library, like I
Yeah.
loved 98 Degrees, but then I would go to Stained, like the
Yeah.
band Stained. I mean, when you look at my music library, you'd be like, oh my, she goes from like
All over.
Sebastian Bach to all the way to like, I listened, one band that's really in my life right now, or
Mm-hmm.
actually two bands, they're called The Struts, and
Ooh.
the other band is Kelsey Carter and the Heroines. I have they are in my they're both rock bands, and they're
Yeah.
very talented, and they again have become autism advocates as well
Awesome.
because of me.
No way.
Because yes, so I met the Struts, like I met the lead singer back in 2018, and then I got to be, when we were all locked in the houses, I got to be on his quarantine radio show, and just this friendship just blossomed.
Cool.
And they ever since then we've just been friends. And so I have taught them over the years like how living with autism, and both bands are just so open-minded, and and they love me and I love them,
I
and
love
just
this.
yes.
And
So
music has unlocked so many things
yes,
for you. I'm
yes.
curious, one of the things that like I have noticed for my comprehension. So I'm ADHD. One of the things I've noticed is that I have to like do two things at once. I have to get multiple things like sensory going. So like
Yes,
if
yes,
I had a huge corporate career before this. So like huge meaning like just, worked at big companies and all that good stuff. So I'm sitting in
right.
giant boardrooms and I have to be actively writing notes and doodling because I had to activate that part of my brain to turn my ears on. So like I'm curious if music would help unlock, if or like
Right.
maybe address some of your anxiety or unlock some of
Yes,
your things so
yes.
that comprehension could kind of funnel in.
So when I come home from when I was a daycare teacher, and I
Mhm.
also come home, like even with the hospital, I have to put on like some kind of music, whether it's the Struts. Another singer that I really look up to, again, still 98 Degrees is still in my heart. I mean,
Right.
that was the best time ever, and I still love them. I don't care. I even told people I don't care what you think of me.
Nope. Nope. You know
Um,
what you love.
Yes. Well, and Vanessa Lachey, well, when she was Vanessa Manillo, that was my girl. Like, and I would
Love
be
it.
like, everyone shut up. I'm watching Vanessa. She's my girl. And my mom's like, well, my mom was like, she doesn't know who you, well, she's gonna know who I
She's
am.
gonna know. She's gonna know. We're gonna send this episode.
And
We're gonna find a way to send this episode to her.
yes. And the funny thing is, like, even my mom would be like, you got a softball game in like a half hour. Yeah, that's nice. MTV's on, like music videos.
And your mom is like, oh my God, go to softball.
Well, she finally talked to my dad. They would first try to block MTV out. They were but like again, I loved all of the music. I would go from boy band to Korn to Dr. Dre. I
Love
mean,
it.
this was elementary school, and my mom was like, I think she has a real love for music, Fred. And she was like, and so then my dad was just like, another one that was really big for me was Missy Elliott.
Yeah, I love Missy
I
Elliott.
loved
What a queen.
I love Missy Elliott. I still dance to her.
Heck
And
yeah.
so my dad and mom said, we're going to let you watch. Like, they didn't think like it was the word. I didn't get these lyrics.
Yeah.
And also, I have to tell you, back in that time, my dad said, let me introduce you to some of my music.
Oh,
Oh my God, Elton John,
oh, the best.
Fleetwood Mac,
Yep.
Stevie Nicks. Now, my dad wasn't a big Fleetwood Mac. He was like, that's kind of a girly band. But I was
Yeah.
like, and when he told me about Stevie, I was like, oh, she is so awesome. And
She's such a good one.
to put this on record, this past February, I got to see her, and when she came out, my friend had to hold me up. I was like gonna faint.
Oh
I
my
was like,
gosh.
well, because the sensory feelings are coming up, and
Right.
I mean,
Big, 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 big
I
feelings.
am I am bawling my eyes out as she's coming out, because I'm like,
Right.
this was a huge concert. This wasn't
Yeah.
just any concert. This was
Yeah.
like history. Same with Elton John. I got to see him on his farewell tour,
Oh,
and I
jealous.
almost fainted when he came. But I'll have to send you the video. You can hear me screaming. Like, my dad was like, "I think your throat is gonna come out of you. You're
That's
screaming." So
amazing.
I'm like, "Do you understand who's coming on stage?" I was like, "This is the man who wrote The Lion King, my childhood, and
Yes.
I'm literally seeing him."
I
Like,
know. Isn't that
yes,
wild when you put those
yes,
things together?
yes,
Oh, I love that. Like, it sounds like musical theater and all that stuff
yes,
probably
yes.
lended to your confidence. I want to bump to so one of the things that we also definitely want to talk about was this notion of defying the odds and really believing in
Hmm.
yourself. So professionally, you graduated high school.
Yes,
Let's get into some of the things that you've accomplished, absolutely, to celebrate that, and also let's talk about the journey to get there. So
yes.
tell us about, give us your rundown.
So I graduated high school. Again, the golden years, did not have to take a test to graduate high school. We
Yeah.
had to do a community project. And I'm just saying this now, we need to go back to that, because
Yeah.
teenagers need to learn a little bit of work.
Yeah.
Not
Yes.
this test, not putting them down. I almost feel sorry for them, because they're being robbed of the creativity. And so what made me want to become a daycare teacher was, for my graduation project, I wrote a children's book,
Cool.
for Charlie's first day of kindergarten. And I read it to about 20 kindergartners who were coming in, and they all were like, I still have it on my bookshelf to this day. I wrote that, and and that's what helped. And it was giving back. I did one thing I did like about my small town, and was that part of the graduation requirements was to give back to your community.
Love that.
So I gave back by helping incoming kindergartners, being like, it's not so scary to go to kindergarten.
Yeah.
And that was my pathway, was early childhood development. So I
Love that.
graduated high school,
Mhm.
and my senior year, my dad sat me down and said, "You're going to go find a job." And at first I was like, "Ooh, money."
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
yes, I was like, but I really did like working. So I was a daycare teacher. And then I graduated college, and I got into the school system as an instructional assistant substitute. And again, this is where all diversity, I just loved it.
Yeah.
So I had kids who were on the spectrum, who were not verbal,
Mhm.
from Down syndrome to just, mentally and emotionally behind, to behavioral issues. And just really, I kept advocating for these kids. Like, I think they just want to be given a chance, like,
Mhm.
not yelled at, not screamed at. And luckily, these teachers took my, suggestions, and were like, okay, like, we'll roll
Yeah.
with it. And so I did that for a couple years. And then, then we moved to Delaware, because, it was time. And
Yeah.
my parents were like, we're going to Delaware. And I said, great, I'm coming. Like,
Yeah.
because I knew it equaled beach.
Yeah.
So one of the goals of mine was, I was just like, I at first didn't want to go back to daycare right away. I wanted to try a different job. So I went into retail,
Okay.
and I ran a successful dressing room at TJ Maxx. It had just opened, and they kind of like came to me and were like, "How are you getting so many people to sign up for credit cards?" And I was like, "I'm just friendly, you know."
Right. Just friendly. Just a
Yeah.
nice person.
And I also wasn't forcing it on them.
Yeah.
The other thing too was, I ran a successful dressing room, but so my manager at the time came to me and was like, how do you feel about going on the cash register? And at the time, I was like, I don't know. Well, this is where I went against my mom. So my mom was, just mom being mom.
Yeah.
Was just like, I don't know if you can do the cash. That's a lot of pressure. I didn't. She told
Right.
me
You're
to
like,
say this.
watch me.
She told me to say that in the interview, and I told her, I was like, oh yeah, I said that. In my mind, I said I didn't say that. And like 4 years, actually 8 years later, I finally, we just celebrated our 9th year at this house. I said, Mom, I have a confession. And she's like, what? And she's like, when I interviewed for TJ Maxx, I never told them to not put me on the register.
That's
And
amazing.
she was like, are you serious? And I said, I am dead serious.
That's
So
adorable.
he came to me, they came to me and was like, how would you feel about going on the cash register?
Hmm.
And I was like, I don't know. And they were like, we'll have somebody behind you just go, okay, now do this, do this. And sure enough, what's really cool now is, along with money, there's credit cards and stuff. So a lot of them just had their plastic and was just, so
Yeah.
it made my mom feel better. But sometimes I got to tell mom, like, okay, I know you're very guarded of me. I know you're very protective, but sometimes, and I do think some adults with autism do tell her, like, let me just kind of feel the feelings and figure things out. Like,
Awesome.
yeah, yeah. And she understands, like, because I remember one time I dyed my hair and she did not like it, and everybody else did. And I think she just was just like,
Yeah.
I'm used to helping her, like, oh, I think this will look nice. She was realizing, like,
Right.
okay. And she's doing a little bit better. She's still kind of, and I get it. Like, when you're a mom with somebody who may have a sort of, I like to say, different ability,
Hmm.
but I do know it's a disability as well. They do become like, okay, I got to protect them. And
Yeah.
when you do see them get destroyed, they really go in protective mode. And I don't blame my mom. I probably would be the same way
Yeah.
if I had a kid who was autistic and the world was not always kind to them.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was at TJ Maxx, and then I went to Walgreens for a little bit, but then I was like, I want to go back into daycare.
Yeah.
So, I became was an assistant teacher, and then I became a lead teacher. And again, the diversity, and to this day, when they see me, they still call me Miss Liz. Even the kids back where I was from
Cute.
have, and this is where I am putting Facebook in a good light.
Hmm.
Those kids have found me and they're like, oh my God, this Liz.
I
And I'm like,
love that.
and I tell them, I'm like, you can call me Liz. And they're like, oh no,
Nope.
you are Miss Liz. And they tell me, they're like, I remember when you did this. And one of the girls from the daycare that I taught here,
Yeah.
she remembers me. She I have daycare kids who are like in college now, and they're like, "Oh, hey, Miss I'm like, "Stop talking. You
Uh,
sound so freaking grown up," and I
that's
can't
amazing.
take it.
Can't
But
take
I,
it.
but I was 18 at the time when I had them,
Yeah.
and they were in like so we were both young together.
Right.
So us
Totally.
growing, yeah, us growing up together, it was. But they all tell me, they were like, you were like one of the best teachers I ever had. And
I love
yeah,
that. Well, and
I
it
I
seems,
loved it too. And unfortunately too, with daycare teacher, unfortunately, I did have two students who unfortunately did pass away. That, and
mm,
with being empathetic, and not having, one of the things I do like about having autism is the feelings.
yeah.
And like when both of them did pass away, like I was literally crying I felt like I lost a daycare baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't care how old they were. And the one was recent. He was 17,
Mm,
and it felt like I got hit by a car. Like
I'm so
I
sorry.
literally,
Yeah.
and again, I saw like a former teacher had called. Well, it was that night the former teacher just kept calling, and I finally picked up. I was like, is everything okay? And she was like, I didn't want you to see this on social. I wanted you to hear it from me. And she
Yeah.
told me, and
Yeah.
I cried, because I was just
Yeah.
like, here I am at 35, and I want I wanted him to have a good life like I'm
Of course.
living. But so, and that is one, like, so I do like having when you're a day, even if you haven't been a daycare teacher after a couple years, and it's been a couple years, I I they still stay with you.
Oh, totally.
Like they're
Yeah.
still your babies no matter
Yeah.
what.
Well, it
um
seems like empathy is like totally one of your superpowers. When I think
yes,
about
yes,
how you were saying, first you were at the school as a, an assistant type role that like you were like, just these kids just want to be seen and given a shot.
yes,
And then
yes,
you're like
yes,
slinging credit cards because you're like, I just talk to people like people.
yes,
And,
yes.
and then as a daycare worker, you just love.
And I do want to go back to, like, when I did meet 98 Degrees back when I was in 2011. My dad working at a high end bar. He sat me down. He was like, I know you see the girls screaming in their faces and like you want to be one of them, jumping up and down. He's like, don't do that. And
Yeah.
I look at him like, why? I want to be them.
Yeah.
My teenage self going, I want to be like TRL. He's like,
Yeah.
no. He said, people want to be treated like people. So sure enough, when I went backstage, I talked to them like, and I ended up, and I noticed when I do meet artists, they like having me around. Like when I was with them, I was only supposed to be back there for like 15-20 minutes. I was there for an hour and a half. And I think
Awesome.
and when I met Tori Amos, that's another favorite.
My
Oh,
God, you've met so many people.
yes, she is another favorite of mine.
Yeah.
I was only supposed to be with her for 5 minutes, and it ended up being 20 minutes. Like, so,
Amazing.
and with the Struts, this past summer, they were at a venue called Bottle and Cork. It's in Dewey Beach. It's about
Mhm,
30 minutes away from me.
mhm.
They end up inviting me to hang out with them after the show, and like
Oh my gosh.
yeah, I got to sit at their like table and hang out with them, with me and my two friends who brought me. Because
Mhm,
see, one thing about me is if I get invited to something like that,
mhm.
like if it wasn't for the two friends who came with me, um I wouldn't have been there. So I told them, I was like, these two are coming with me or I'm not. And they were like, oh, bring them. So,
Aw, that's
so
amazing.
I'm very big on treating everybody like a human, because
Yes.
I don't care if you are like, say for instance, I don't Taylor Swift. I
Yeah,
would just talk to her like me and you are talking. I mean,
totally.
it would be you can be excited. Like, I'm
Yeah,
very big on being excited, but
yeah,
I'm not going to be like asking her really personal questions, like to the point you're almost scarring her. Like that's not
right.
and what's funny is I have talked to artists who have said like some people have gotten too personal, and they're like, that's not comfortable. Me, I'm
Yeah.
like, how are you? Are you seeing this weather? It's just lovely. Like,
Aw, that's
that,
adorable.
like, but that's it doesn't matter your status. We're all here at this. If you, again, like, I don't know if you've seen like on Facebook or Instagram, when you see everybody's like, anatomy, we're all the same.
Right.
It doesn't
Absolutely.
matter your job title. It doesn't matter your
No, we're
like
all just
you know,
humans.
I'm not. And the thing is, like, and I get like people get excited, but there is a point where people get overly excited.
Mhm.
And like I was joking with my mom, like when you see people like sitting outside Taylor Swift's house, like in
Yeah,
Rhode Island, my mom's like, that's creepy.
yeah,
That's and that's when my dad came back to me and said, remember what I've taught you, Liz?
right,
Like, you
right.
know, everybody's a human. It's just, there are different statuses, but he said at the end of the day, if she wants to, like, if she or anybody wants to go home, you're not seeing, like, I'm a huge advocate. I'm kind of well known to a lot of people, but you don't see
Mhm.
people hanging outside my house. Like that's really it's
Right,
an
it's way
invasion of
too far.
privacy. It's an invasion of privacy. So I'm very big on treat others like you would want to be treated.
Well, and that first of all, hands down, couldn't agree more. But I
Yeah.
think, when we think about you being a voice for the autistic
Hmm.
community, do you think that that's when I think about, okay, what would the autistic community, especially those who are nonverbal, but everyone who doesn't have the
Yeah.
platform, do you think one of the things that they would want the world to know is they just want to be treated as a human?
Yes, absolutely. So there was a gym owner, or there was like an owner when I was at TJ Maxx.
Mm-hmm.
There was a little boy that came in and he was nonverbal. I yeah, it looked like I was talking to myself on the outside,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
I was talking to him going, "Are
Yeah.
you excited for this?" And I think it was around Christmas time.
Yeah.
And I think that mother really liked that I was taking the time, because I
Yes.
bet you 9 out of 10 times people just walk on by and don't,
Yeah.
don't give him the chance, or they'll just go, "Oh, hi. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm done with you." He can,
Yeah.
just because he can't talk doesn't mean, and certain things is, one thing I've learned about nonverbal is eyes,
Mm-hmm.
is the mouth. There is different communication styles when
Yeah.
it comes to it. And one of the biggest things, like, that I'm big with is with the nonverbal is I keep telling people, talk to them.
Yeah.
They know, they can hear you.
Yeah.
And I mean, if people like, and one of the biggest role models I really enjoy is Helen Keller. I
Mm.
know it's an oldie, but
No.
she defies
Mm-hmm.
what, again, disabilities. It's just, she was blind,
Absolutely.
she was muted, and I think she was deaf and she was blind,
Yeah.
and she couldn't talk.
Yeah.
Her teacher taught her how to talk. So it's just kind of like, if you all admire her, then you need to give other people a chance too, because
Absolutely.
they're kind of in the same boat. But with nonverbal autism, not all of them are deaf, but they can hear you. And if you say, "Hello, how are you? Do you see the sun in the, do you see the sun? Oh, look at that person. Look at look at that bright color, just talk to them." You may be it may, on the outside, who don't understand autism, they're probably thinking, "Oh, are they like just talking to themselves?" But
Yeah.
it's not like, you give them a chance, like, be their friend, like,
Yeah.
be that's just not for autism, but be anyone's friend. Learn.
Oh, I couldn't agree
Yeah,
more. I couldn't. And yeah.
learning is a big thing for me.
Yeah. Oh, it's so empowering, isn't
Yes,
it?
yes,
It
yes,
in a world where, we can feel anxious and overwhelmed and the world feels
yes,
heavy, like I find
yes,
if I'm curious and I learn about something, I feel much more grounded and sort of in control and a little bit more powerful and always more empathetic.
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, I love
I
that.
So I don't know if you saw or you've heard, but in different countries, there are interactive libraries
Ooh,
where
cool.
people volunteer and they will sit, and it's like kind of like how we're doing. Say like we were in chairs and we're
Uh-huh.
looking at each other.
Uh-huh.
One is in England and one is in England.
Mhm.
You go around the circle and you sit at the chair, and you say, "Hi, my name is such and such," and then that person starts telling their story.
Cool.
And I'm like, this needs to come over here,
Yep.
because I think a lot of people could learn. And they tell their
Absolutely.
story, whether it's homelessness, whether it's disability, whether it's a hard time, that kind of thing. Like,
Mhm.
it's they have it like certain days, and you go around the circle of tables, and you listen to these people tell their story.
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing. And like I said, I was like, we need this.
Absolutely. I mean, humanity is so vast and so
Yes,
diverse and
yes,
everyone's
yes,
experiences. I love that.
yes,
Okay, so that is like so I'm taking away is that, as an advocate for autism is really to and just as a good human to be empathetic, to
yes,
talk and listen, to love and to learn and to just spread kindness.
yes,
And to be open to sort of everyone's differences in like a
right,
really loving, excited kind of
yes,
way. One
yes.
of the last questions I want to ask you, because I want to make sure that you can go back to your day. I'm like, I'll talk to you for
Oh
hours.
no, I've been looking forward to this. So,
Oh, that's
you're
so
fine.
wonderful to hear.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this. So ask anything.
Okay. Okay. That makes me excited. Thank you for
Yes.
that. Is what advice do you have for parents who have children that are autistic?
Well, for one thing, if, again, I don't know if you can leave my Instagram handle or,
Sure. I sure
Facebook
can.
handles. They can definitely reach out to me,
Okay.
and we can, I can help them as much as, like, be a listening ear.
Yeah.
The other thing too is be their advocate.
Yeah.
If they're having a really tough time, don't, whether it's, elementary, teenager, or even a small kid, don't give up. You're doing a great job.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, yes. Because, you were chosen to be their parent for a reason.
Mm.
And even on the hard days, like, give yourself some credit. Didn't give up on them. Just
Yeah.
like my mom and dad didn't give up on me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Also, again, there is somebody out there who cares,
Yeah.
myself,
Yeah.
and, other families. If you need help, it's okay to reach out for help, resources.
Yes.
If you feel like you're being judged, don't hesitate to speak up, stand up for yourself and your child, or
Yeah.
the services, because you are, at the end of the day, you are the advocate for your child. And again, really just give yourself credit. Like,
Yeah.
you're doing a good job, and it may not seem like it, but look back on this episode and go, oh, somebody said that Liz girl said I was doing it, so I am doing a good job.
I
And it
literally
is
have
it
tears in my eyes thinking about, because I have friends with autistic kids, and I know
Yes.
some days are just hard
Yes. Well,
days.
hey, if they need a friend, their children have at the end of the day, their children have a friend for life, and that's me. Like, I'm
Oh,
going to continue to be their voice. At my job at the hospital, I recently became the ambassador for autism and disabilities. So,
amazing.
yeah. So, and also believe in your child. It may be nerve wracking, but
Mhm.
let them try things. And if something doesn't work out, it's okay. You
Yeah.
just, you fall back on, find something else that they want to do. If they are getting bullied, maybe get with the teacher and have try to have a lesson with them about bullying and inclusion, and really think outside the box. Like, and again, if anyone needs help with that, like, I'm very big with that, because I've dealt with a lot of bullying. I've been told, you shouldn't work here, you're dumb, you're autistic, you know you I even got told I needed to go on the special ed bus. I mean,
Oh my God.
I've had some really ugly things said to me.
I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah. Again, I mean, it did. I'm not going to sit here and lie. It did take me to a dark place, but I
Sure.
think if it didn't happen, I wouldn't have gained the strength that I have now
Yeah.
to because it wasn't anybody else. It was me who pulled myself out and rose above from all of it. So,
I
but
love that.
anyone, to those who have children, teenagers, adults with autism, like, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Like, you have a support system, and
Oh,
you're loved, you're cared about, and I'm definitely here for you.
God, your energy is just the greatest gift today. I am loving every bit of it. It is so genuine, and it is so loving, and it is so bright and so shiny. And like, you've told such an amazing story, and there's been so many great insights from what is it like to be a kid with
Mhm.
autism, how to defy the odds. I mean, literally, you've graduated, you've worked, you were in
Yes.
daycare for what, 15 years? Now you're
Yes.
working in the hospital, you're getting certified across multiple areas in the hospital.
Mhm.
Your advocacy work is amazing. And look at you, you're living out all these amazing dreams of meeting these incredibly influential people. You're
Yes.
truly making a difference in the world. What I love to end every episode on is really focusing on women and like
Mhm.
what I think are important things for women to talk about or questions to ask. And the one that I want to ask you is, like, you had just said, I was the one who turned myself around and pulled myself out of the darkness. Like, how do you take care of yourself in those moments where you feel dark again? Because, I don't know about you, but for me, like, anxiety, sadness, it comes and goes.
Right, right, right. So, my friend Dr. Teal and his bubble bath and his Epsom
Oh,
salt products
yes.
are
Oh
my
my,
best friend.
I
So I
also
will
have
walk
best
into
friend friendship with Dr. Teal. This is amazing. Look at us.
and my mom goes, "That's a little expensive." I go, "You be quiet. We are best
Best
friends." I'm
best
telling them,
friends.
we are best friends.
Money well
So
spent.
so at a hospital, you do deal with a range of emotions, because for nurses,
Oh,
doctors,
sure.
it's a stress. I mean, cancer side, emergency side. I mean, I've
Yeah.
seen it all. And as somebody for autism, like, don't put it, like, for one thing I do want to add, don't ever think certain situations may seem overwhelming, but
Mhm.
for me, I was able to take it. And again, my dad had a pep talk when I took this job and said, "You're gonna see things. It's life. It's very messy. It can be
Yeah.
very messy." He said, "Just keep that in your mind. If you do see something devastating or you see somebody struggling," he said, "just you be the positive person. Go in and go. It's gonna be all right." And I have done that.
Yeah. God,
But
I want pep talks from your dad.
yeah,
he's,
he's he
he's good at this.
him and I again. He is more of a quiet person, and
Mhm.
I'm the loud one.
Me
And
too.
I mean, I even tell him, I'm like, "I'm your favorite kid, aren't I?" He's like, "I don't know about all that," but
That's
no.
adorable.
Um, but uh,
So
but
yes, you see a lot, and I'm
yes,
sure,
yes,
as
yes.
a,
And
and
a daycare teacher, I saw a lot too.
oh,
I
and all,
mean,
just
yeah,
all the sensory of
yes,
both of those situations.
yes.
You're in the highest of high sensory zones.
Yes. Yes. So, I mean, and there were times where I was like, maybe I'm not made cut out for this. But when I get to that area,
Hmm.
I get Dr. Teal's
Hmm.
sleep melatonin.
Yes.
But I mean, I'm not lying to you. I pour half of a bottle, and my mom's like, "That's a little much," but I'm like, "Leave me alone. I'm
Leave
in
me
my
alone.
zone."
Yeah.
Yes. I put like, so you can do any facial mask. Bath and Body Works, shout out to them.
Yep.
They are my favorite. I do everything lab, like when I come home, especially if I've done like multiple days, like because I do like to help out my teammates and my team.
Yeah.
um, Dr. Scholl's, um, and or Dr. Scholl's for my shoes. Dr. Teal. There's a
Yeah.
lot of doctors
Well, you
here.
got a lot of doctors in your life.
Yes. So I like to unwind with a big bubble bath, and I will
Yeah.
sit in there for like 30 to 45 minutes. Sometimes my mom does have to come go, been in there a while, like, but sometimes I just like to sit and think.
uh, and like
Yes.
think in the most non-thinky kind of way. Do you agree? Where like sometimes I have to let my thoughts run until they
Yes.
start to level
Yes.
out, and
Yes.
that is a bathtub situation. I could
Yes.
not agree with you more. I'm
Um,
loving this.
One artist, and I suggest to everybody that I put on, is one artist that she is, out of all of them, she's just a very easy listening to. You're gonna laugh. I love Enya. I don't care what
I love
anyone says.
Enya.
I don't care what anyone says. I love
Hmm.
me some Enya, and
Same girl,
I
same.
put Caribbean Blue because I live by the ocean, and I just
Hmm.
have that on repeat. And
Yes.
I just listen to that, and I put a face mask on. And then if my feet are hurting, that's where Dr. Scholl's comes in.
Yep.
I found on Amazon these feet warmers that you put on your feet, and I stick my feet up on, and I put my Netflix on.
You're a
And you know what?
queen.
You know what relaxing show I'm watching right now?
Oh
The
gosh,
Mendez the
I knew
Mendez
you were
Brothers
going to say that. I
story.
knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going
I
to
was
say
like,
that.
and my dad was like, "I thought we were having a relax." He's like, "Why not a Christmas movie?" Nope. I
Nope.
want to watch some true crime. And he was like, "But that's not relaxing." I said, It's so funny because I talked to everybody. They're like, "Oh my God, I love true." We're like sitting
Hmm.
there relaxing. How are we gonna do this? I'm like, and my dad's like, "Oh yeah, that's so relaxing." Said no, said
A
nobody
lot of
ever.
people do that. They're like, I'm in the middle of
Yes,
a panic attack. I better put on some true crime. I'm just kidding. But like, I mean,
yes.
women especially love it.
Or the book that I'm reading right now.
Oh yeah, let's see.
Um, I'm reading Tough Times Won't Last, but Tough People Will. It's Chicken Soup
Ooh.
for the Soul. I'm
I love
reading that
chicken
right
soup for
now.
this. I haven't read that since college. I love
I
this.
just found this book. This is a very good one. So if you do need
Okay.
some, if you do, it's on Amazon for like $9. I mean, Tough
God,
Times
Liz,
Won't
you're like a
Last.
life coach.
Yeah, but Tough People Will. I'm reading that right now. I
Amazing.
also listen to some really like, so I also like to, along with Tori Amos and Enya, I like to listen to songs that have a really strong message. So the Struts have a song called I Won't Run.
Mm.
And there's a line in it that goes, "Giving every breath till I'm breathing," and it's just like not giving up. And that's one
Beautiful.
of my favorite songs of theirs, and I listen to that, and just really like, I come home, I decompress, and I listen to music. I
Yeah.
watch. I do the TV, but for some reason, listening to music just,
That seems to be your ticket.
yes,
Yeah,
yes. I'm a
very
very
cool.
big music person. And then I'll also watch like all the amazing concerts I've been to, like Elton, like my dad
Yeah.
reminds me, he's like, not everyone gets to do this and you got
Yeah,
to. So,
yeah.
just think of like all the good, I think of all the good things that I'm appreciative and I'm proud of. And
This is
yeah, so
life. This is truly like, I mean, I hope everyone took out their notebooks and wrote all of that down. That
Dr.
is,
Teal's,
yeah,
Dr. Scholl's,
yep,
and I mean a lot. Some people, I will be honest. Like they go, oh, I get a glass of wine. For me, alcohol is not it, and I
yeah,
just feel like
yeah.
alcohol. And I also, even though it's kind of cold out, I do like to take walks, and I make sure
Mm,
I put myself in the sun because
yeah.
because I've been in an emergency room all day. So I
Mm,
make sure I do bundle up. I know sometimes it's like 20 some degrees out, but I bundle up. I'm like, I have to get outside.
yeah.
Getting outside is really big for me too, as well. So,
Amazing. This is like
yeah.
fantastic life advice, let alone, I mean, anyone. Liz, this has been an absolute pleasure. I feel like I've learned so much. I've been inspired. And I just have absolutely loved your company.
Oh,
I really appreciate the opportunity to give you, to extend your voice to those who are so lucky to hear it, and to represent the community and to give voice to anyone who, and everyone is so deserving. So I'm so grateful for what you do. I'm so grateful that you reached out. Everyone, I hope that you share this show. It is just full of brightness and so much insight.
you know
Either,
that
yeah,
they do call me the sunshine.
I,
They
I get it.
the struts have officially given me the nickname Lizzie Sunshine.
Mm,
So,
that is adorable. Oh, you guys, Lizzie Sunshine. This was an absolute pleasure. I
yes,
can't wait
thank
to keep in
you.
touch. And
Yes, me too.
oh, you guys, thank you everyone for listening. Please share this episode and we will catch you next time. Well, that's the end of this episode, but promise me, you won't stop here with whatever it is you're feeling or dreaming about. I hope you leave today feeling empowered to live life just as you see fit. If this podcast was helpful to you, it would mean the world to me if you could leave a review on whatever platform you're listening on. I genuinely just want to help women live the life they dream about. So if this type of content tracks with you, subscribe to this podcast or visit our website, writeyourownstory.co, to download digital courses or to grab a journal and a mug to just dream in and dream with. It's your life, lady. Do you. And just remember, I'm rooting for you and you've totally got this.